Experts speak of Omicron and health system. Hoskins locals present Road Petition. And Airdrome settlement eviction reaches Parliament.
This is National EMTV News with Helen Seah.
Good evening and thanks for joining us for Tuesday's news. As the country learns of the first Omicron variant of COVID-19, the Director of Medical Services at PNG's biggest referral hospital says it's difficult to predict its likely effects on health services considering the low COVID-19 vaccine rates. Dr. Kone Sobi spoke to us in light of Port Moresby General Hospital's preparations for a fourth spike anticipated in the first quarter of 2022.
The Port Moresby General Hospital is bracing itself against another wave of COVID-19 as the country detects the Omicron variant.
But when the test sets came, it just showed us that no matter how much preparedness, level of preparedness we were, it just showed us that we were not ready to tackle the magnitude of the severity clinical burden it presented. So yes, we can say that we have prepared to a certain level, but COVID might present, the surge might present in a quite dramatic way that it's going to be devastating.
What is yet to be understood are the effects of the new variant, as the primary COVID-19 vaccine numbers are low. The scientific and medical community say booster jabs are a solution against hospitalization for the new variant. While countries abroad have experienced the highly spread variant, they have high vaccine coverage. PNG's figures are around the 10% mark.
Fast spreading, it spreads very quickly, faster than Delta variant, but in terms of the severity and hospital admissions, it's much less. So probably milder disease form of the coronavirus. But what we don't know is that the people that are experiencing mild infections in countries where they have higher vaccination coverage.
In October last year, 9 out of 10 patients who turned up at 3 Mile were admitted for the deadlier Delta strain, which took the lives of many. 2022 has just started. The hospital says its response is ongoing, despite a decrease in case numbers.
Screening pathways that are still existent, yes, so that we don't completely halt all of them, then it will be difficult to recommence the process again.
It's been steady since 1st of December with less than 10 patients in the ward at any one time.
Currently, there are at least 7 inpatients at the hospital. Since December, 8 have died from COVID-19. Their bodies are still at the morgue. Dr. Sobi encouraged citizens to follow prevention measures.
Nevertheless, we will have to still take those precautions. Let's not drop our guard.
Bradley Valenaki, National EMTV News.
3 wards in the Hoskins LLG have petitioned the West New Britain provincial government and leaders over the bad state of roads. A particular road is the Hoskins to Koimumu Ring Road, which needs immediate reconstruction and rehabilitation. A petitioner says the road has left to deteriorate with no sign of levels of government showing concern.
This image shows part of the road in the Hoskins LLG between Makasili and Galilo, a road left to decay in the past 4 years. Rise in sea level has also eaten a huge chunk of the main road. Yesterday, a 3-page petition was presented by concerned locals to the provincial government.
The very points that I interpreted there is lack of development in terms of road infrastructure, education, health, and so on. So this is meant the provincial government and the district is totally neglecting the people of the province as well as our people, the concerned people. So thank you very much.
The petition also highlights government's key intervention area in the road upgrade program. The petition highlights the plight of people in wards 7, 8 and 9 to have been affected due to the poor road condition. They say climate change has eroded the road with no action by the provincial government.
Okay, now let me talk. Am I walking? When time by me feel all same by online office responsible situation doing me.
Desperate villagers are now using detours along the Makasili and Galilo portion. Pictures show the travelling public getting off to walk across the bed portion while the PMV uses a detour to the other side. They believe a seawall should be built or better still a new road. The petitioners have given 2 months for the provincial government to respond. Juggler Power Jr. National MTV News.
The same concerns on road conditions from La Loki to Brown River section of the Hiritano Highway were raised in Parliament. Local MP Peter Isoaimo, while thanking the Marape-led government for allocating funds to rehabilitate the road, said a different contractor is needed to quickly fix the road. His questions were directed at Works Minister Michael Nally.
Contractors without machinery and experience have been engaged time after time depleting Hiritano Highway maintenance funds. And that's for last year, including last year's 10 million. The same contractor is again engaged to do the Berena turn-off Upper Naipi portion of the road, another 35-kilometer portion of road, the same Hiritano Highway or Trans-Island Highway thereafter. Is he aware that officers within his department, especially in the high impact project division, are doing all these dubious or entertaining dubious claims or contractors and paying out a lot of millions of kinas when good contractors can be engaged to do a good job out of it that lasts?
We cannot do any major work on that section of the highway unless and until we get proper funding from government or from our development partners. That's the best I can give you. But with the particular contractor that he has talked about before and is talking about now, these are small Papua New Guinean contractors. And I can say that all the provinces have got Department of Works outlets which are headed by regional works managers. And then it goes to the provincial works managers, and we got provincial works engineers around. So I'm pretty sure these guys are not silly in just giving away money to contractors. They award contracts to small contractors that are capable of doing such small work. But sometimes, unfortunately, we expect too much from too little money.
Discussions surrounding illegal squatter settlements were addressed in Parliament today. Prime Minister James Marape spoke strongly against Papua New Guineans who migrate to towns and cities and settle on land they do not hold titles to. He made the statement following concerns raised by Moresby North East MP John Kaupa on the eviction notices by National Airport Corporation to settlers at Erima and 8 Mile in the nation's capital.
Kosten blomi number one, I'm going to Prime Minister. Now I'm going to talk to one and two Minister of Lands, now Airport Corporation, so that we can review the Gazettal number G71 of 2010, so that you can solve this problem. Airdrome, one map Airdrome through. Now one map to Papa ground claim was a more line stop, now suddenly more money go. So you can review na come one solution because new minister come, you will not this come. New MD come, you will not this come.
No got haste. Me ask him all a walk plan, blow. Suppose all got walk plan or this blow house or area suppose all stop inside long flight path or area affecting walk long balus lo punan na get up. NIC talk directly in the way of aerodrome operations. So me talking NIC finish, slow him down. Suppose you got title or you got NAO, Emirate, you slow him down past them. A lot of people pine him. Good permanent solution along all this all line stable or this all areas where NAC he talk also ground long all. So at the moment, member must be noticed. You know people blue you, but you know got eviction right now. NIC has been asked to put on hold that proposed eviction, but we will work towards finding a permanent solution.
Community leaders and elites of Kutubu and Bosavi in Southern Highlands are calling on the national government for a separate electorate. Their call comes as a final report from the Electoral Boundary Commission is set to reach Parliament for debate and consideration. A leader says resources in Kutubu have contributed a lot to the national purse, and it's about time people are rewarded with an electorate.
The elites from Kutubu and Bosavi met recently in Port Moresby to echo the concerns for the separation of the Nipa-Kutubu electorate. They believe their submission to EBC is relevant and timely. A leader says their cry is for the people.
Our fight was way back 1967, and we have been struggling. We have been marginalized on many fronts, at a political front, as we have experienced over the years. That because of lack of political leadership, there has never been any development in Kutubu.
Nipa-Kutubu electorate has a growing population of nearly over 200,000. The leaders say one open MP cannot serve the mass population, and services like health, education and road is lacking in most rural areas. They say a new electorate will ease all these development challenges.
We would like to remind our leaders, that political leaders, that Kutubu and Bosavi has to have a new electorate, a separate electorate for equitable service delivery and for the representation in the Parliament. That's what we want. We have demonstrated our people are ready. Based on the EBC and the Electoral Boundaries Commission, Kutubu Bosavi has met all the requirements.
The Electoral Boundary Commission is expected to submit a final report to Parliament for consideration. The leaders are calling on the Southern Highlands Governor, the open MP and Prime Minister to consider the plea.
Now we want to stand our own, to fight for our people, rights for the people. We've been suffered enough, and we've been mentalized, and so now we want to stand our own. So we appeal national government and the Prime Minister and the Governor of Southern Highland, member for Nipa-Kutubu, to also be agreed and considered to what the needs of Kutubu Bosavi people. And this is our call, this is our fight. We will continue to fight.
Jack Lopava Jr., National EMTV News.
Electricity in Kokoma district is expected to be switched on for the first time in April this year. Work on the rural electrification project is nearing completion and 22 villages have already been connected. These projects are aimed at improving living standards for locals in the oil and gas province.
Power generation in Kokoma district has been non-existent for a long time, even after the start of the PNG LNG gas project in 2014. The government and church-run institutions in the district depend on standby generator when it comes to the usage of electricity. In a visit to the district, local MP Manasseh Makiba announced that the co-funded rural electrification project will soon be switched on for the 22 villages that are already connected.
Narabla project and rural electrification. Na Yumironimo power lines na Latimak. Narabla Disla program. A very important program for the first time since independence by mixing light.
This rural electrification project covers 34 kilometers spread over 20 villages. An additional 2 million kina was presented to the district to ensure this project gets off the ground as planned. Most power pylons have been erected and power lines now run through the pylons. In preparations towards the electrification project, Prime Minister James Marape cut ribbons to the 2 diesel generators in Magarima Station to mark a new era for the district.
Power work with district starting finish. Now, like talk, thank you, Manasseh. You work in plenty, pulling power along plenty, Ablo district, power here, you carry 1 megawatt generator come. Now, Mibla 2 is la big power line go here. Emido long tari or helatasol. Emba golgara long Heights case na kisi Paulo Heights na supply Mhela, Enga, Southern Highlands, Western Highlands, Jiwaka na Simbu na Gobe Golsem. Supporting power long Ramu na power long Antap long Pounder. So this lago na time power come. Mana say pulling pini sokara power line long 11 big 100 lo plus. Lo silip lo power in lo line sawe mantaso lo mosi mantaso. If lo man meri lo plus tu can silip lo power.
Once switched on, these generators will provide 1.1 megawatts of electricity. Come April, this will be the first time since independence for people in the 22 villages to be connected to electricity. Thekla Jogo, National EMTV News.
You're watching National EMTV News. We'll have more stories after these short messages. Stay with us. Welcome back to the news. Public servants have been reminded that the compulsory retirement age is 65 and those close to the retirement age must start planning their exit. Speaking recently at a gathering to farewell long-serving public servants, Roslyn Rakwavia from the Department of Personnel Management reminded the retirees of their exit plan. The government allocated 200 million kina in this year's budget to cater for the retirement exercise of public servants.
Speaking to the public servants at the Pacific Institute of Leadership and Governance last week, the Director of National Agencies reminded them of the compulsory retirement age of public servants. She says the compulsory retirement age is 65. However, public servants can retire at any age. And the retirement exercise for public servants is an ongoing exercise that the Public Service Department is conducting.
So whoever wishes to go, retirement starts at 50 years of age. 50 to 55 is discretionary or voluntary retirement. If you are under 50, then retirement, you will have to resign if you are sick. But retirement on medical grounds also starts at 50.
Over the years, there have been reports of public servants who have exceeded the compulsory retirement age, but they are still in the public service workforce. In such cases, the respective officer is required to provide a fit and proper test signed by 3 different medical practitioners. This is to verify that the public servant is still fit for public service after the compulsory retirement age of 65. The director says this is to ensure the performance of the public service workforce is maintained and the government and the people of PNG are better served.
It's the discretion of the agency, and if he sees that you are 62 years old, but age stock 62, but physically you are like 66 or 67, and if you argue, we have received a lot of complaints. We ask the affected officers get 3 fit and proper tests to substantiate or justify that no, we still fit to continue.
Since 2020, the government has retired over 1,000 public servants under the public service retirement exercise. According to the director, the government has allocated 200 million kina for the retirement program this year. Public servants were also advised to plan their own exit from the public service and not to let their respective agencies plan their retirement.
Saving culture. Individual exit plan. It's a challenge to all of us. Do we all have our own individual exit plan? And when we are going to leave, we cannot wait for the agency to prepare an exit plan for us. For those of us who are still around, at least we must have our own individual exit plan. So we start planning and seeing that people around us, how they are living, why they are living, when they are living.
Rayon Lakingu, National EMTV News.
Farmer groups in the country have raised concerns on new non-tax fees and charges imposed by the government, saying it will affect the price of goods and services in the agriculture industry. President of the Farmers and Settlers Association, Inc., Wilson Thompson, expressed the concerns on behalf of farmers yesterday with EMTV News.
To invest.
President of the Farmers and Settlers Association, Wilson Thompson, who is also chairman of the PNG National Research Institute Council, told EMTV News that the new non-tax fees and charges put in place by the government for this year and onwards are unfair and will affect those in the agriculture industry greatly.
We are not going against the government for charging or increasing the fees. For example, we understand that some fees and charges, not the non-tax. Non-tax are basically those like with license fees, application fees. Those fees are not collected by IRC and customs. It's collected by departments and agencies. So we realized that some of these fees have not been changed or increased over 20, 30, 40 years. And we feel sorry for the government that they're supposed to have reviewed that. But by reviewing it, what they have done is that in some of the instances, the increases 1,000 or even 2,000% increase, which is not fair on Papua New Guineans.
Mr. Thompson said due to this issue of fees and charges, production in the agriculture sector for commodities like coffee, cocoa and oil palm has decreased significantly over recent years, raising concerns for PNG's potential to compete on the world market.
There are so many areas that the government have charges, but what it has done is that it has charged areas where most of the agriculture sector and processing sector comes in. For example, the Department of Labor and Employment, it's increasing all the fees on the factory, warehouse, and then the inspection of fire safety and hazard and inflammable liquids. Okay, for Papua New Guineans, it doesn't matter, it's fine. But for those in the agriculture and food processing, it's processed in factories. You sell coffee, they put it in a factory. When you want to manufacture coffee, it goes into another processing factory. Or like Paradise biscuits, they're paying a license fee to process these biscuits. So where does the cost goes? It's added onto the items. So that's our concern.
Mr. Thompson, an economist who has been involved in the agriculture industry of PNG for many years now, says government should alternatively look at increasing customs duty and income tax rather than the non-tax fees and charges.
So what we are saying is that you use the income tax and the customs, whatever, to make the money. Don't use the fees and licenses because the fees and licenses go directly into the price of items. For example, like the IRC gets the money after the company makes the profit. So they don't pass it to the consumer immediately. But the fees and charges that the government is charging right now, immediately this year, like the war fees, PNG Port is charging, so immediately the companies are charging the farmers and the consumers everything right now.
Some increases in the non-tax fees and charges were effected in 2021 and others will commence in 2022. The ones already announced include PNG Ports, Nakia for biosecurity, fertilizer levy, departure levy, fossil fuel levy, coffee industry licensing, DLIR factory and warehouse fees, flammable liquids and safety inspection fees, and transport license and fees. Dennis Orere, National EMTV News.
The Spice Board PNG held a consultative meeting yesterday with vanilla farmers and exporters in the Sepik region. Information gathered is to help the Spice Board better understand the exporters' challenges and find a way forward in creating a better pathway for better markets. The meeting took place at the Mapri Council of Chambers.
Lack of guidance over the years by relevant government authorities, including the PNG Spice Board, has forced local exporters to find black markets in Indonesia or sell their vanilla cheaply to the US and European markets because of the absence of the organic certification.
Organic certification is a big problem we face because inside the country, we have organization, government initiative. Belong assistem mibla long kisim organic certificate mibla problem mibla facing mibla try long negotiate go out mibla pa ni mosam bisla organizing organic department long US also certify mol product and mol based on New Zealand Australia which is cost block kisim certification mibla inona.
The recently revived Spice Board, headed by Dr. Nelson Simbiken, is now trying to slowly correct these mistakes because the current process of exporting vanilla has not brought in much forex into the country, with the PNG economy missing out on millions of kina. Hearing this feedback from the farmers and exporters, the board will be in a better position to assist.
Sampai ikut oleh kantor sona, salah batas na ibu salim hap si cash ni ka. Na cash itu sih memang US dollar sah. Kina. Kina. And kina berjuang itu so around the world. So now we by setting up control export system, and also you want the exporter. Because spice industry board by KDB. We will make sure that you must get contract of sales and number one.
Despite the law allowing the board to collect levies, it hasn't collected levies for more than 20 years, making the board handicapped to carry out research and extension work. The meeting collected views from the participants on an appropriate levy that can be charged. Spice Board has recommended 15 kina per kilo of vanilla export. The farmers, however, suggest lowering it. As part of the proposed 15 kina levy, they are already paying Nakia and customs fees.
Local exporters, maybe local cost do maybe locally, no transporting cash crop go long airport and Narbla cost, maybe by meeting export bills, Narbla cost and taxes, maybe by pay more phytosanitary certificate, country of origin, certification, Narbla something. Narbla cost can time ibla withdraw because ibla export go out lo Narbla country, so time ibla go lo bank lo withdraw bank fee sawe only sawe simbikla tax lo bank fee.
The Spice Board will be meeting with the exporters in 2 weeks' time to settle the levy, but for the meantime, all have agreed to ban the trading of green beans and are happy that the Spice Board is now looking into their issues. More of such consultative meeting will take place with other spice farmers that will culminate in the review of the Spice Industry Act 1989. Shamin Poreambeb, National EMTV News.
A new 31-page broiler handbook has been launched by ZINEG and is now being distributed throughout the country. The handbook is for farmers or anyone involved in raising chickens for personal use or for business. This is following a recent workshop held by Livestock Department Corporation together with the Farmers and Settlers Association in PNG.
What we learned from this training was that farmers were doing things on their own, from their own experiences, and farming technical bulletins or handbooks from DAL and NARI were outdated. Most of them were produced in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. So the booklets on how to look after chickens and all that were outdated. And while most practices are still relevant, we've got new diseases that are coming in. We've got industry that has expanded. So lately, we, in partnership with ZINEG, they produced this booklet at 31 pages. It's fully illustrated, gloss, and it explains how to grow chicken. And that's day-old chicks. We call them day-old chicks or live chicken. So it's supporting so many people throughout Papua New Guinea, where it's helping parents to look after chicken and pay school fees. So you find them almost in every district in Papua New Guinea. We call them the live chicken industry. So this booklet has been produced by ZINEG, and what we are doing is it's a community service program that they've invested so much money into research and also publication of this book, and it's 31 pages, and we've been distributing that.
And now looking at the NAS Fund market report, the kina closed unchanged at $0.2850 in the interbank market. At Bank South Pacific, your kina is buying $0.2775 $0.3808 Australian dollars, $0.4042 New Zealand dollars, and 31.11 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, gold is trading higher, coffee closed higher, cocoa and copra closed lower. Crude oil is trading higher, palm oil and copper closed lower. And on the stock market, the Dow Jones closed lower, the ASX 200 is trading lower, and the All Ordinaries is trading lower. You're watching National EMTV News. We'll have more stories after these short messages. Stay tuned. Welcome back. The Manam Resettlement Authority, or MARA, needs funding to complete a number of feasibility studies. The studies started in 2011 but stopped in 2015 due to funding issues. The data collected from these studies are meant to assist authorities find a way forward for the displaced Manam Islanders residing at the care centres since 2004.
The Extension Services Manager Paul Akuram explains that the guide for the feasibility study is divided into 5 phases. Phase 1 is to establish the authority, create an act and allocate funding for the authority to start work. The second phase is construction. Third phase is resettlement. And phase 4 is compensation assessment.
That's when all the damages that has been done since Manam people came to the mainland against the locals, and the locals did to them. It has to be assessed. There's a lot of damages done. People are hurt. This has to be compensated. So that's phase 4. Phase 5 is monitoring and evaluation of the project.
Akuram explains that the 5 phases has been reassessed and it would cost 700 million kina to implement.
And that's 15% of what the World Bank said. 15% government contribution. We're trying to get another 85% from overseas donors. That's the assessment we've done.
The manual guide was given to the former Medellin governor at the time, Sir Arnold Ahmed, who engaged a consultant with MARA to incorporate the 5 phases into a workable data.
But then the problem is money. After that, we made a submission through the provincial government. We made a submission to Central Agency Coordinating Committee. That's CACC from Provincial National Planning Department. They approved it and gave us 3 million kina in 2000. This was in 2012, and in 2013 they put it in the budget for us. So we got 3 million in 2013, and then another 3 million in 2014.
The Manam Resettlement Act is valid for a 5-year period. Since it was passed in 2006, it expired in September of 2011 with nothing done during that 5-year period. Another act was drafted in 2012 that included only relevant departments to start work.
So we allowed national planning, provincial and local level government, Medellin, Department of Medellin, and lands. All these people that are concerned, we put them together.
Ramu Development Foundation, or RDF, was established by Ramu Nicol to help the landowners.
But we approached them and we said, can you people expand that so that give us the money, we will look after it and do whatever we can for the people. So Ramu Development Foundation was catalyst type of company.
The Ramu Development Foundation assessed the value of the projects and estimated it would cost at least 3 billion kina. The new Manam Resettlement Act was passed on the 31st of March 2016 by the former Prime Minister Peter O'Neill. A board was formed and an account was set up, but it is not known if funds are available.
They did not give any money to the board account.
Martha Luis, National EMTV News, Medellin.
Minister for Fisheries and Marine Resources Dr. Lino Tom says the concept of having a fisheries hub will provide an avenue for locals to benefit directly from their fish. He made these comments during the launching of the Vocal Point Coastal Fisheries Hub development in Leh. Dr. Tom said the current industry is driven by the larger companies, and this development aims to give more market opportunities for locals.
This is where the Vocal Point Coastal Fisheries Hub in Leh will be built. The scope of work in the first stage will include the National Fisheries Office building, fresh fish distribution facility, the water landing and fresh fish processing facility. On Friday, Minister for Fisheries and Marine Resources Dr. Lino Tom officially launched the project along with Morbe Governor Gintin Saunu and Leh MP John Rosso.
Now this is something you may believe now. By you now line from you by forming a corporate association, by you come na salim wal products from you lo this la place. Time you come salim long here, you by participate now long harvest long all resources from you.
And by stimulating plant economic activities through the participation of our local fishermen.
According to the PNG Fisheries Strategic Plan 2021 to 2030, Papua New Guinea's fisheries industry continues to increase, and it was valued at 1.5 billion kina last year for all fish and fishery products. While the largest fishery is tuna, coastal fisheries is an important aspect that adds to the socio-economic value of local communities. Minister Tom said while the industry is driven by larger companies, the development of this fisheries hub will be an avenue for locals to benefit directly from their fish.
We want to make sure that harvest of resources are actually, the benefit actually trickles down right to the people. Instead of it going through the industry or going through other government agencies, we want the people to be the direct beneficiaries. And this is one project that will address that issue.
Minister na kamna, okay, peace na put inside the boat blue. Na kari kamla here. You yet must go okay fish. You yet must drive in this change. You yet must walk him so you got money inside the pocket blue.
The process of building this 105 million kina Vocal Point Coastal Fisheries Hub is expected to start in April this year and end in October 2023. Lucy Kopana, National EMTV News, Leh.
More than 2,000 people will benefit from a wash pilot project in the Situm area in Morbe's Nawai district. The health center and primary school in the area were given 3 water tanks and an ablution block powered by solar. The project is funded by the national government and European Union.
The Situm Health Center was built a new ablution block under this pilot project and was given sanitation equipment to help patients. Prior to the WAS project being implemented, the clinic sourced clean water from the Situm riverside to treat patients and assist with bed deliveries. Officer in charge of the Situm Health Center says they have seen a decline in typhoid and diarrhea cases.
Facility that we have at the back and WAS project coming in, and also with ODF, Open Defecation Free, we are proud to say that from the past 5 years till now, we are seeing 2 to 3 patients a day with diarrhea cases, not as before.
The government's WAS policy was put in place to provide a framework to improve access to clean water, hygiene and sanitation. In Situm, the Open Defecation Free program was included to help people build their own septic toilets. World Vision PNG WAS technical advisor called on the district authorities to work with the implementing agencies to help build hygienic communities.
We encourage all the DDAs, all district development authorities to invest in their WAS plans, so that they can really have some investment into WAS around sanitation in local communities, so involve him in a more the bigger context belong Miplakan Karma in Papua New Guinea.
The project extended to Plastic Community in Gobari, a kilometer away from Situm. More than 16 septic toilets were built to maintain hygiene and keep children healthy from diseases relating to poor sanitation. The project in Nawa is being implemented by World Vision and is funded by European Union and the PNG government. The rollout will continue in Bougainville next week and will cost around 13 million kina. Michael Tamtipais, National EMTV News, Leh.
You're watching National EMTV News. Up next, some sporting updates in Chukai Sports. Stay tuned.
Chukai Sports.
Welcome to Chuka Sports. Kamali Village were crowned the netball champions of the 2022 GK Memorial Cup hosted in Makirupu Village in the Rigo district of Central Province. The team defeated Marshall in the grand final and walked away with 2,500 kina worth of prize money.
Despite heavy downpour over the weekend, hundreds gathered at Makirupu Soccer Oval to witness the 2022 GK Memorial Soccer and Netball Grand Final. The finals for soccer were host village Makirupu in the blue outfit dethroning Kaporoko in front of a packed crowd. The most talked about player of the tournament and National Soccer League figure Tawini helped Makirupu ama Kaporoko to want to snatch the GK Cup. Away from soccer, the Netball Grand Final was the climax of the 5-day event. The Ula Marshall ladies in yellow took on a much experienced Kamali. The Kamali team prepared well for the tournament, topping the competition without losing, winning 8 games in a row to secure the cup.
I've been going for tournament at different places. We train ourselves at home before heading towards to play tournament with other villages. It was so excited and I was so happy to play.
Marshall were determined to cause an upset, but Kamali denied them with a convincing victory.
We kept moving it, but everyone was pretty pumped, and we obviously wanted to be in the grand final and get it, but unfortunately we fell short.
Despite going down 15 points to 24, Marshall captain Natalie Gulovui was happy to participate in the tournament. She says it is a good exposure for the young side as they prepare for other bigger competitions later this year.
It's really lovely. We had villages from everywhere come together, which is really good, bringing everyone together. So yeah, it is a good tournament. We've got heaps to improve on as a team, and we're looking forward to coming to more comps like this.
Reigning champions Kamali and Makirupu both received 2,500 kina as winners of the tournament. Suli, Chuka Sports.
Chuka Sports continues with more after the break. Stay with us.
Chuka Sports.
Welcome back to Chuka Sports. One of the largest off-season rugby league tournaments in Port Moresby, the NCD Governors Cup, has begun registration for teams from the 3 electorates in the city, plus the Motu Koitabu villages. This will be the 3rd year running for the competition, which will see the inclusion of the women's divisions for the first time.
Preparations for the 2022 NCD Governors Cup have begun, starting off with the team registration, beginning this week on the ground floor of the NCDC City Hall Annex building, running from the 17th to the 28th of January. The registration fee for teams in the men's division is 1,000 kina and 500 kina for the women's division. Rugby league teams from each of the 3 electorates in the National Capital District, including the Motu Koitabu villages, are encouraged to register for the 10-day tournament. Given the limited spaces available, only 12 teams from each electorate will be registered. For the first time this year, a women's division will be included.
For this year, Governor wants us to involve all the electorates to come together and play. So we also give opportunity to our Motu Koitabuns. That's why we have 4 groups: Moresby Northeast, Moresby Northwest, Moresby South, and Motu Koitabu. Due to COVID-19, we have to defer the tournament to February. The controller wants us to host the tournament in a confined area. That's why we have booked Bower Park, Oval 1, Oval 2, and the final will be played at John Kai Stadium. That's why we only allow limited number of teams. So that's why we allocate 12 teams per electorate or per group. We increased the budget from last year because due to the venue that we are using, and also the registration part of it will go back to look after the teams as well as look after the venue as well. So the tournament is it's getting bigger every year since we came on board to organize the tournament.
Tournament director Simon Nuabu stated that all participating teams should be community-based, with all players hailing from the suburbs, settlements and villages whom they are representing.
Our team for this year is great pathway for future stars. So what we're trying to do is we emphasize on teams to be community-based, and that's why we encourage Motokotabuans to, they have to represent their village to come and play, and also in our other suburbs, they have to fill their own teams, and also settlements. We encourage people from where they live to put in their teams, so we have diversity for all clubs to participate in unity. We discourage players from moving from one area to another area so we also invite the Divisional Cup franchise technical team, coaches and trainers to come around and then scout the players.
Huxley Lovai, Chukai Sports.
And that ends Chukai Sports. There were the details coming up next.
Chukai Sports. Chukai Sports.
This weather update is proudly brought to you by MoniPlus, with you always.
A look at the weather forecast for the southern region only, mostly cloudy with chances of patchy rain showers in Port Moresby. Mostly cloudy with some rain showers in Daru, Kerema, Alatau and Popondetta.
The weather update was proudly brought to you by MoniPlus, with you always.
And that's been the news, sport and weather for Tuesday, 18th January 2022. On behalf of the news team, pleasant viewing and good night.